Jay, what did you find out about West Virginia?
Great team, championship team. They have a identity in how they play. Good starters, a couple really good bullpen pieces. Aggressive base running team on offense. Do a good job hitting with runners on base, runners in scoring position, and playing with a lot of confidence right now.
Get them on, move them over kind of team?
Yeah, definitely. They do have some good hitters that been in the spot before. They were Super Regional last year and used their experience well. They've a few pieces that have been playing really well lately, and like I said, they have a good identity in how they go about their style.
When you're facing a team that old, they're a very old team. Is there how do you sort of track that and adjust to that, or is it just a fact?
Yeah, it's just experience. Like I said, certainly not a talking point. I think it's more about how we play, than who we play or the age of the other team. But they've had a good year, and when you have old teams, you have a chance to be pretty good, and they are.
Danny was just telling us maybe how those last two games in the regional maybe could benefit you guys, I guess, in terms of just being a good learning lesson for postseason play. Just wondering if you could expand on that and just kind of maybe the lessons you took away from maybe the final couple of games of the regional.
Yeah, we actually it was a talking point, in our weekly meeting. What did we learn last week that can help us this week? And it's a question for the players and have them share on that. And there was a number of things. And I think my biggest takeaway was the ability of the team to respond in such an appropriate fashion in a high-stakes game on Monday night. Should give them great confidence that they can win any game that they play.
We talked last week about the energy of practice. It was different. Today it seemed a lot more business-like. You didn't hear a whole lot. Did you kind of gather that?
Well, I think we had a great one yesterday with a ton of enthusiasm. I think it's probably 15 to 18 degrees warmer than it was when we practiced last Thursday. And so, yes, and there's an element of making sure physically they're in the right spot so that mentally they can be in the right spot. We did some things early in that workout that were very specific to what we need to do to be successful tomorrow in the game, and then kind of finished with that as well. And so, yeah, probably more mental than physical toll at this point in time. Been very fortunate to use the football recovery place a couple times this week, because like I said, I've said this for several weeks, we've asked a lot out of a few players and just want to make sure we get them to the right spot at 1 o'clock tomorrow.
How often have you had a middle infield like Milam Dickens?
Had some good ones. I think they've made a total of 7 errors combined over however many games. That's pretty darn good. And they're also really good offensive players too. They're good base runners. They're great baseball IQ guys. I did believe when we signed Danny that could end up being a strength of this team, and it absolutely has. I don't think either of them get the credit they deserve for the defense that they've played as being good offensive players. College baseball, even on some of the best teams, you look around and sometimes player profiles will lend to one side of the ball as a strength, and both these guys are really complete players and why they've been so valuable for us.
How do you prepare the team for the heat and make sure that they're physically fine?
Yeah, I think controlling what you could control with rest, workload, hydration, fed them well all week. Just making sure you don't overlook it. I think that would be a mistake. I think we've done a good job of that. I think what's great this time of year is, my focus is 100% on baseball and our program all the time, but you get some of the ancillary people with nothing else going on, we become the focus, and that's been helpful, from an LSU standpoint, as far as, getting our team and our players what we need.
You said that you're going to be much pickier in the portal this year on Hunt's show, and I was just sort of wondering, how has that helped you prepare for a Super Regional when you don't have to sort of be as aggressive in the transfer portal or any of that stuff?
Well, there's a team and there's a program. My focus right now is on this team and helping this team be successful this weekend. Otherwise, there was no point in bringing them here in the first place. And so that's the priority. With that, we also have a program that we want to have as many bites at the Omaha apple as you possibly can. And so you can't just ignore it. And so I think it's just being good about hiring good assistant coaches that can handle certain things. It's prioritizing my time for windows and pockets that are the most effective as possible. So Tuesday, I think it started, and it was a day right after we'd played that I could devote a little bit more time to that day. And then really Wednesday, outside of a couple phone calls, my focus has been on this and our team and training in West Virginia and, what does Chris Stanfield need to do to play great this weekend. And there's no better recruiting pitch than, playing on TV this weekend because there's only 16 of us. And, you got to pay attention, though. Like, we lost a player because we played in the championship series of the College World Series Finals, and they went on a visit to somebody else that wasn't playing and canceled their visit during the national championship celebration. And I still don't know how that works out, but we'll end up with the right players. And we don't need all the players at LSU. We just need the right players at LSU.
Have you had to worry about playing defense? I saw what Cliff Godwin said, is that when people are contacting, it's just such a free-for-all. I guess you've gotten used to the free-for-all, but is it a distraction? Right?
I have a lot of respect for Cliff, for sure, and has done a great job at that program. And, for me, it's like kind of lean back to what I just said of, like, we don't need all the players. We need the right players. And I think we have done a very good job of that. And the evidence of that is Zach Cowan, Anthony Ianson, Danny Dickinson, Chris Stanfield, Luis Hernandez. Like, those guys would be great players anywhere, but they were the exact right players and people for this team. And there's an evaluation that we really want to go through to make sure that we do that, because sometimes saying no at LSU is more important than saying yes, to the player. And I'm proud of that effort. I'm proud of what we've done in recruiting since I've been here. But we have to really be smart about that. And as far as like what everybody else is doing, like I can only coach one program, and I'm accountable for what we do with our program, and I respect everybody in my chair. You know what I mean? And it's our job as the leaders sometimes to stick up for ourselves, and that's how it goes. But I can't monitor what all our competitors are doing on a daily basis and be effective for our team in recruiting and coaching. But I respect Cliff a lot.
You just mentioned Anthony and Cade, and obviously they've been so good for you all season. How having two pitchers like that, how does that maybe help this team in a super regional format?
Well, I think I heard, Andy Lopez, who I succeeded at Arizona, one of the greatest coaches of all time in college baseball, and he talked a lot about intangibles, but the tangible thing to win in the postseason you need is pitching, and we certainly have that with those two and the rest of the staff. I have great confidence in this staff, and those guys are winners, and it's just as much the type of competitor and person they are, and they just pair that with elite pitching skill, and it gives you a chance to win when they're on the mound, and you have to win this time of year to keep your season going. So it impacts it a lot, and I love those guys and very thankful for them.
Taysom felt good after his.
Yeah, he's good. Feels great. Like I said, we've been able to pour everything into making sure every detail is buttoned up with every player, and obviously getting him recovered was important. But I think this is a guy that threw 7 innings every week of a high school season for 4 years, and expects to take the ball and go deep into games, and he's done it this year. He did it over a 3-week period and recovered well, and he'll be ready to go.
What work are you guys trying to put in with Zach to sort of, guess, getting back to what he was doing in the first half of the season?
Well, I think he's had a tremendous season, and I think everything is context. Like, I don't know how many appearances he's had, let's say 18, but if you went like 6 great appearances, 1 bad one, 6 great ones, 1 bad one, 6 great one, you'd land in the exact same spot. So I think maybe hitting on some perspective of that. The other thing, too, is you're talking about a guy that hadn't had much failure in college baseball over a 2-year period. And I think the first thing you do is make sure, he's pitching to the template of who he is and what makes him successful versus trying to do something he's not. And I don't think he's doing that, but like get past that checkpoint and then just give him some visuals of him at his best and then a mental checkpoint of him at his best and put that all together, and then you trust a guy that's really, really good.
Do you feel like this stuff is still there? I mean,
Yeah, I
the
do.
velocity's up to 93.
Yeah, it do. I definitely do. Yeah.
And just kind of to build on that, I'm sure there were guys who wish they would have pitched a little bit better on Sunday in that regional. Just the workload that you've seen from those guys this week and getting back on track.
Yeah, it's been good. I think starting tomorrow instead of today, very helpful. Not obviously not having a midweek game in the postseason. I feel great that Coach Eski and Jamie were able to plug into those guys individually. We got them on the bullpen, their bullpen on the game mound, and really kind of got some things reset. And I think that's really going to benefit us going into the weekend.
What about Steven finding his bat a little week there last week? What did you see? Any differences at all?
Yeah, I thought he took the caliber of at-bats he needed to be the best player that he can be for our team and perform the best himself. And I think it should be a good motivator to stay in that approach, character, and mindset. And we're a different team when he does that.
Looks like they have a lot of switch hitters in their lineup, from what I gather. How does that kind of challenge this pitching staff? Maybe hasn't seen a ton of that this year.
Well, they're very left-right. I don't know that they're necessarily switch. I think you have to throw your pitches for all of your pitches for strikes. You have to command the ball to all quadrants, up, down, both sides of the plate. And I just think they, meaning West Virginia, do a really good job of knowing what type of hitter they are, and they're very committed to what they're doing, and they're well coached. And, you get, 800 college at-bats under your belt, which several of them have, builds confidence and experience, and we'll have to make pitches to keep them off base and slowed down.
Pretty sure I know the answer to this question, but I'll ask it anyway. Just pitching for this weekend, have you made decisions, and what are they?
Yeah, we'll announce later on.
What goes into a smooth defense?
I think good athletes, I think reps. I think good athletes that take the right reps and build confidence in those reps, and then they do them at a speed of the game that, can translate to in-game stuff. It's one of those things, like, I'm not sure a great infielder's ever made. You know what I mean? I think there's a born talent thing, and then there's a, Michael Jordan, at the free throw line, or the catch and shoot jumper element of taking ground balls and playing fast catch and putting a lot of hay in the barn, and then you take talent with the right training, and then you become really, really good. I probably believe that more than I ever have right now. And we have some really good ones, and it's been a lot of fun. And the pride that they have taken in defense, and we've been pretty good in close games, and largely because we haven't beaten ourselves a lot.
You said earlier this year when you were recruiting Daniel Dickinson, he was in a barn getting pitches from his mom. He talked a little bit about his mom and his relationship with her. What have you seen out of him? And he said he has no father figure. He grew up as an only child with her. What does that mean to you to see him be successful? Yeah,
he's a special kid, and Cherie's an awesome lady, and supported him all the way through this thing. And, I'm just very grateful. It's we had 12 players returning that played last year, and they're good ones, so it was a good foundation, but that's not a lot. So we needed a lot of the right ones, and they don't all have to be the same or come from the same background, and they don't. But like I mentioned with Luis is the exact person that needed to squat down behind the plate, handle the pitching staff, hitting the 6, 7, 8 hole, and be a great teammate and make everybody else around him more important than himself. He's done that. Danny has a competitive edge, a drive, a desire to succeed in a way that the guys that were here, they needed that. Not to say they're not good at it either, but they needed that. And he's motivated. He's a team player. He's tough. He's focused. And a lot of that comes from his mom. And, I'm super proud of him. And, that's a guy we'll have had for 11 months, but I'll no doubt that'll be a lifetime relationship.
I know you've talked about this before, but how much of the end of regular season plan to get Cade in there at catcher to spell Luis in terms of his physical ability was preparing him for, I guess, the workload he's taking on now in regional?
Yeah, well, Cade's a really good player. I mean, he's a really good player, and he's helped us win a lot. And I'm really proud of the freshman season that he's had, and have a great piece that's the guy for us, and he may end up being the best player in the program next year at some point. That's how much confidence I have. So it was important to get him in the game. And then with Luis, yes, like you have to remember he wasn't a primary catcher last year, and getting to absorb the season, not lose offense, continue to play great defense, like we had to spell that more. And it's a thing I've always been guilty of. When you have a really good hitting catcher, that does a great job on defense, you want to keep running them out there. And we got the best of all worlds, getting Cade the at-bats that we did, and getting Luis a breather. I don't think I had in mind, like, okay, this is going to help him in June. Like, I don't think that way.
There's also a lot of postseason games, so is there a shot we've seen Cade maybe starting one of these games and behind the plate just to give Luis a little bit more?
Well, we take it a day at a time. Just take it a day at a time. And this is a 3-game series, and then there, at least between the first 2, you have a day off. Then you have to win to ensure that you have a day off. They, changing that format, but haven't really got that far down the road. I feel like we've won games against the best teams in the country with both of them starting and catching and playing a full game. So, again, just like you asked with the pitchers, like what a luxury for us to have 2 guys that are really good behind the plate.
Okay, in your team room, obviously you got Omaha on the wall, you got the path to Omaha on the wall. Now that you're this close, do you want them to think a little differently or think a little less about the overall goal? You talked about focusing on each game.
Yeah, I think, when we align our goals as a team and a program, you go in that room that was built before I was here, and it goes without saying. You don't have to go without saying. I mean, you don't have to say, hey, do we want to win the championship or not? Like that's lame, like at this place, so we don't have to do that. What we do, though, is we outline the path, and then we have to dominate the path as it comes. And part of it is exactly what you said, Scott. Like, we can't go to the plate thinking if I get this hit, we're going to Omaha, or if I make this pitch, we're going to Omaha. You need to focus on execution. And that's why foundationally from day one in June of 2021, when I showed up here, that's what I talked about, is being prepared for these moments by having the mental discipline to focus on the right thing. And if you do that over a long period of time, both in recruiting, developing, executing on the field, then you create these good opportunities. And then you create the ability to execute in those opportunities. And it's super boring, but yes, that's exactly what I'm trying to do, is get them to stay focused on how we do it instead of actually doing it.
You got to really go ahead.
Sorry. Is the success rate as high as it seems like it is when you step over into the on-deck circle and you're talking with guys, among other guys at bat, and you're going through whether it's schematic strategy or feel for the game? Steven said it's like more about a feel for the game is the success rate. It seems like every time you do it, the guys kind of come through.
I'm just going to park a chair there then. Just until we're done. It's such a pitch-by-pitch game. There's so many that happen during the game. When you're playing good teams, you don't get a ton of chances at times, and so you want to capitalize and really, to double down on what I just said. Like, it's not them coming through; it's how to help them get in position to do what they need to do. And there might be a visual cue, there might be a physical adjustment, there might be a mindset thing for a player, there might be a guy that I just want him to slow down. And I coached third base for like ever, and we would always use all the offensive timeouts, but I really feel like, and this is 1 year at Arizona and then the time here, like move into the dugout, like that was one of the main reasons, to help. I mean, the player executes the plan. It's just to help them execute the plan.
You had a really detailed answer as to why you made the moves in the lineup you did for that Monday game, why you moved it here or there, and why they succeeded. Is there anything you can take out of that for games still to come?
I just think it's a good example of the game comes down to execution. And again, like whether it's going to talk to the on deck circle, writing out a lineup, like I want to do it in a way that gives the players the best chance to be successful. Like that's coaching. But the players' ability to stay focused on the task, trust their training, and deliver a championship caliber at bat or whatever it is, like that's what that's about. I think it's a good learning experience for the team that if you execute your plan, you can be really successful. And there was no motivational speech. There was a path to executing your plan. Like that's what Monday was about, and this weekend is really the same.
You often say, my whole life is getting to Omaha. That's my purpose was to get to Omaha. Was it the first time you went to Omaha with Arizona, or have you ever gone as a fan? Was Arizona the first time?
I've been 3 times. Twice with the Cats, 1 with the Tigers. Never there unless we're there.
And the first time you went, did you just fall in love with like this is where we need to be? What was it about it?
I think it was. So it was 2016. That team was picked to finish 10th out of 11 in the Pac-12. I didn't have one player on the roster that had ever been to the NCAA tournament, and so it was more of like. I mean, getting to the NCAA tournament, we were in the airport. We were flying back from Hawaii, and it popped up, and it's like, we did it. Like, these guys are going to the postseason for the first time. So it was like maybe how Little Rock felt, like house money, you know what I mean? And storm the castle. I was like, where is Lafayette, Louisiana? You know what I mean? Like, and then it's like, wait, we're going back to Tucson, and then like 24 hours later, we're getting back on a plane, and we're going in the opposite direction, and David Pierce was nice, and he let us practice at Tulane, and then we fell into the losers bracket, played 4 games in 2 days and won, and okay, hey, can we make sure we're playing on Saturday, because this has been a lot. Wake up the next morning at a hotel in Lafayette, it's like, hey, Friday, 3 o'clock at Starkville. All right, wake these dudes up, let's get on the bus, and let's go to Starkville. And then played 2 one-run games and won, and then like finally getting on a plane to actually go back home for a few days, it's like, why can't we do it? And that team just played with so much confidence. And ultimately, there ended up being like 6 or 7 major league players on that team. And you can't go there and you can't win there without major league players. And so it's really about players, but it's awesome. And I want to be there every year because it's awesome, but I want these guys to experience it because they deserve it. Like, regardless of the results of this weekend, these guys deserve that experience.
All good. Thanks.
All right. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Jack.